Port of Gladstone has been one of Queensland's most important ports for quite a long time, since the 1970s at least. And now it has over 1,200 ships moving through it every year. And that activity is becoming even more intense now with the development of some major LNG facilities in the port, which are put in place to move coal seam gas out of Queensland to export destinations. The development of Gladstone Harbour as a major LNG port has required significant dredging in the harbour. It's one of the largest dredging operations in Australia and indeed around the world at the present time. So that poses several problems for the port, which is a significant marine environment for things like seagrass and things that feed on it like turtles and dugongs. The principal effect that's created by dredging activities is an increase in sedimentation in the water column, and that can have flow-on effects to the ecosystem, slowing the growth of seagrasses and perhaps impacting on animals that depend on it, as well as on other parts of the ecosystem. Our activities in Jazera concentrate on understanding the flow of water, how it moves sediment around the system, and then looking at the effects of that increased sedimentation, whether it affects seagrasses and how that in turn affects other animals in the system, such as turtles. By understanding how turtles use the environment, we can hopefully think of ways to minimize the interactions of turtles with this intense shipping traffic that's now occurring in the harbour. The dredging in Port Curtis is raising a lot of sediment in the water column, and that gets flushed out of the port, but it's going to take some time for it to settle down and be flushed out of the port. So we need to understand how long that process takes and what the factors are that can influence the speed at which water quality will improve after dredging and how long those effects will persist in the system. We then need to understand what the impacts of sediment are in the ecosystem, both in terms of how it may block light getting to the bottom and how it may affect animals directly by settling on top of them. We're taking a twofold approach to looking at how dredging may affect Port Curtis. The first approach is to look at the movements of turtles within the system, the types of habitats they use and where they spend their time. By doing this, we may be able to understand ways to minimize the impacts of shipping and boat traffic on turtles and potentially dugongs and remove or reduce one of the major threats to the ecosystem values in Port Curtis. The second approach that we're taking is to use computer models of water flowing through Port Curtis to understand how sediment moves through the system, how fast it settles, how fast it gets flushed out, and what the effects of that may be on seagrasses, which of course are an important part of the diet of things like turtles and dugongs. There are a lot of questions that are raised by development in Port Curtis. We've assembled quite a large multidisciplinary team of scientists to attack these problems and try to answer some of these questions. Our projects in Jazera are focusing on two really basic parts of the ecosystem in Gladstone Harbour. There are a lot of other questions that remain. Other groups of people will be trying to tackle these in the future, and indeed they've already started working on them. Our hope is that what we're doing will contribute a sort of framework that other projects can use to build up their results and a way that all of these projects can at some point be integrated in the future.